You ever get that sudden punch in your chest, like something inside you knows a woman is thinking about you, but you can't explain why? That quiet jolt of unease that hits before your brain can even form a thought? Stay with me, because that instinct isn't an accident. It's one of the oldest signals your psychology uses to warn you that something in your life is shifting. And today, I'm going to help you finally understand what that shift actually means. But before we dive deep, hit that subscribe button and like this video, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you read female behavior forever. Here's what most men never hear directly from a woman. When she's thinking about you non-stop, she doesn't start with romantic fantasies or daydreams. She starts with questions. Women feel first, but they think repeatedly. And that spiraling thought loop, the one no one sees, starts long before she gives you any physical sign. She becomes curious about your patterns, your tone, your intentions, even the way your silence feels. If you've ever sensed a shift in a woman before she said a word, it wasn't magic. It was emotional gravity. Women don't obsess over men they don't respect. They don't mentally replay interactions with men who make them feel small, dismissed, or unsafe. When she can't stop thinking about you, it's because you triggered something rare, a combination of unpredictability and emotional presence. And that's a dangerous mix for her mind, dangerous in the sense that it pulls her in when she doesn't want to be pulled. The truth is, when a woman keeps circling back to thoughts of you, she starts analyzing things she normally ignores. The way you paused before answering, the way your eyes moved when she talked, the choices you make without announcing them. She becomes hyper-aware, not because you're confusing her, but because you're waking up parts of her psychology she usually keeps locked away. Most men miss this completely. They look for big signs, messages, calls, sudden affection. But a woman's internal shift shows up long before any of that. She becomes quieter around you or unexpectedly bolder. She mirrors your timing without realizing it. She pays attention to the smallest friction between you. She doesn't admit it, not to her friends, not to herself, but her behavior starts shifting in ways she can't fully control. When a woman thinks about you non-stop, she becomes intensely aware of your emotional fingerprints, the subtle impressions you leave on her mind long after the conversation ends. She replays moments because she's trying to decode them, not out of insecurity, but out of fascination. And that fascination becomes a loop she can't shut off. You might notice her energy warming when you enter a room, or the opposite. She becomes strangely tense, almost guarded, as if she's trying to keep her thoughts from spilling out. That's not disinterest. That's emotional overflow she's trying desperately to manage. Women feel deeply, but they also try to conceal what they consider unearned vulnerability. When you're on her mind, your presence exposes her, and she's terrified you'll see what she's not ready to admit. One of the biggest signs shows up in her pacing, not walking pacing, emotional pacing. She hesitates before texting you back, not to play games, but because she's debating how to protect herself while still staying connected. She writes messages, deletes them, rewrites them. She wants to sound casual, but her thoughts are anything but casual. She's thinking about what you'll think about what she said. That's how layered her mind becomes when you're occupying her attention. Another sign is her sudden curiosity about your habits. She notices the time you wake up, the type of jokes you laugh at, the way your mood shifts throughout the day. She starts connecting dots that don't exist yet because she's trying to understand you without having to ask directly. Women think in emotional patterns, and once you become one of those patterns, she can't turn it off. But there's an even deeper sign. She starts imagining your reactions before she makes decisions. She wonders how you'd perceive her choices, not because she wants permission, but because she values your perspective more than she expected. When a woman starts mentally consulting you before acting, even in small ways, she's already far more invested than she's letting on. And she doesn't let her mind run this deeply unless something about you feels rare and steady. When a woman's thoughts keep returning to you, it's because her heart has already started quietly leaning in. Here's the part most men completely overlook. It's not just about noticing you, it's about the emotional charge you create in her mind. When a woman thinks about you non-stop, she's cycling through emotional experiences that range from excitement to frustration, longing to fear, all within a few minutes. That intensity alone is addictive. She doesn't want to admit it because feeling so strongly about someone without their knowledge makes her feel exposed, but that exposure is exactly what keeps you in her thoughts. You see, men often confuse attention with attraction, but when a woman obsesses over someone internally, it's not casual curiosity, it's a signal that you've triggered her emotional hierarchy. She's sorting you in a category reserved for people who matter, who could matter, and who make her feel things she's not used to feeling. You become a benchmark for her own emotions. She asks herself questions she wouldn't normally ask. Why do I keep thinking about him? What is he doing right now? Why did I feel that twinge when he said that? Those questions are mental fingerprints of fascination. Another thing to understand, women don't think about men in a vacuum. Every memory, every interaction, every tiny gesture is replayed against her emotional state. If she's stressed, your memory can feel like comfort. If she's happy, you're a spark she can't explain. If she's uncertain, she obsesses over what you might be thinking, which keeps her tethered to your orbit even when she doesn't intend to be. And here's the brutal truth. The longer she loops through thoughts of you, the more she's constructing narratives about what could be. These aren't just fantasies, they're subconscious evaluations of compatibility, emotional safety, and attraction. She imagines scenarios, dialogues, reactions, and consequences. She's rehearsing your connection in her mind long before she ever articulates it. That's why a woman who thinks about you nonstop can act unpredictably. She's torn between what her heart wants to reveal and what her mind fears to expose. The emotional tension she feels isn't just for drama. It's a compass pointing to the depth of her feelings. If you've ever felt someone's presence linger in ways that don't make sense, this is it. She's creating an internal map of you, your habits, your reactions, your potential, and the more she thinks, the more she's emotionally invested in being on that map, whether she admits it or not. When you recognize these patterns, you realize something shocking. She's not thinking about you casually. She's running simulations of life with you in it, quietly trying to predict if you belong in her reality. And that is a powerful magnetic sign that she already feels something most men would kill to notice, but never understand. Now, let's dive into the subtle signs that most men completely miss, because she doesn't broadcast these thoughts. She leaks them in ways only someone paying attention would notice. When a woman is thinking about you non-stop, she doesn't just text or call more. Sometimes she withdraws, becomes distant, or even irritably quiet. That's not rejection. It's a mental tug of war. Her mind is full of scenarios about you, yet she's trying to protect herself from appearing too vulnerable. You might notice her tone shifting. Her words carry weight she doesn't intend. She may joke differently around you, tease more, or suddenly mirror your habits. Mirroring is instinctual. Her brain is wired to subconsciously align with someone she's deeply focused on. When she subtly mimics the way you speak, the rhythm of your gestures, or even the way you laugh, she's signaling, without realizing it, that you matter more than she expected. Then there's emotional memory. She will recall moments you didn't even think mattered. Maybe the way you reacted in a single conversation or a small compliment you made months ago. She keeps these details tucked away because they anchor her to you emotionally. When someone is mentally replaying you like this, she's literally imprinting your presence onto her subconscious. That's why she can act simultaneously distant and obsessed. Her mind can't stop following you, even when her body tries to act casual. Another indicator. She notices your absences more than your presence. When you don't text, she checks herself, mentally retraces what she said, wonders if she annoyed you or if you're thinking about her. Men often misread this as indifference on her part, but it's actually a form of deep, private attention. She is obsessed with context, how you respond, how you feel, and where she fits into the emotional space you occupy. And finally, the sign most men underestimate: subtle attempts to provoke a reaction. She might test boundaries in small ways, challenge your opinions lightly, or push you to see if your attention shifts. This isn't immaturity. It's a psychological mechanism. Her mind is circling you so persistently that she wants to confirm you're as present as she is. She's looking for signs that you're as invested in her as she is in you, without admitting it outright. Understanding these behaviors changes everything. You start to see her emotional rhythm, the pulse of her thoughts, and the more you recognize it, the more you realize she's not just casually thinking about you. Her mind is occupied in ways that almost demand attention, almost forcing you to notice the intensity of her internal focus. Here's the part that almost no one tells men. When a woman thinks about you nonstop, it affects her behavior in ways that aren't always obvious, but they are impossible to ignore once you know what to look for. She becomes emotionally synchronized with you without realizing it. Your moods, your tone, your smallest actions, they ripple through her mind like a tide she can't resist. If you're happy, she subconsciously mirrors that energy. If you're distant, she feels it sharply, sometimes before you even realize it. This isn't coincidence. It's proof that she's mentally anchored to you. She also becomes hyper-aware of social cues, who you interact with, how you speak, what others say about you. Everything enters her mental radar. She doesn't need to ask questions because her mind absorbs these details automatically. You've probably noticed her subtle glances, the way she remembers small details you never thought mattered. That memory and attention aren't casual. They're a manifestation of her brain replaying you endlessly, over and over, connecting threads you haven't even consciously created. And there's a hidden emotional vulnerability that comes with this obsession. She starts weighing how much she should reveal, how much she should protect. You might see her acting aloof, teasing, or even slightly confrontational. That's not hostility. It's her internal conflict surfacing. She's caught between the instinct to be honest about how she feels and the fear of giving away too much. Her mind is constantly running this balance, and when she's thinking about you non-stop, it's like being on a tightrope with no safety net. Another deep signal is consistency in thought patterns. She may disappear for hours or days, but when she returns, her attention to detail, her curiosity, her engagement, everything is heightened. That break doesn't mean she stopped thinking about you. It means her mind has been circling you privately, building emotional strategies and narratives. She's not ignoring you. She's strategizing internally, trying to measure the right moment to show you her attention. And here's the final layer. When a woman can't stop thinking about you, she starts imagining future interactions. Casual ones, serious ones, impossible ones. All scenarios she replays quietly, often without conscious awareness. This mental rehearsal isn't just fantasy, it's emotional testing. She's seeing how you fit into her life, how your responses might align with hers, and whether you could be someone permanent, even if she won't admit it aloud. Understanding this transforms how you perceive her actions. No longer random, no longer confusing. Every pause, glance, or subtle challenge becomes a clue, proof that her mind is occupied by you in ways most men could only dream of noticing. Now let me reveal the truth most men never understand. When a woman thinks about you non-stop, it's not a temporary phase. It's a psychological imprint. Her mind has effectively marked you as someone significant. And this isn't casual attention. It's a deep, internal process that shapes how she experiences her world. Every choice she makes, every fleeting thought, every emotional reaction starts circling around your presence. She may fight it, dismiss it, or even act confused, but the truth is undeniable. She's already intertwined you into her mental landscape. One of the most powerful signs of this is emotional memory. She recalls small, seemingly insignificant details about you, your favorite words, the way you tilt your head, a tone in your voice. And these memories aren't just stored, they're relived. She revisits them to analyze, to predict, to understand. Her mind is running simulations, testing scenarios, anticipating your actions and reactions. Every pause, every decision, every step she takes is influenced, subtly or profoundly, by her ongoing mental dialogue with you. She may also test boundaries without realizing it. A woman thinking about you non-stop will unconsciously push, pull, tease, or challenge. Not out of malice, but to gauge your emotional stability, to see if you remain present and grounded. These behaviors aren't random. They're a silent measure of how safe, reliable, and compelling you are. When she does this, it's an unconscious way of communicating her investment in you, even if she can't voice it directly. Another unmistakable sign is the way she frames her future internally. You're no longer just a person she interacts with. You become a potential part of her life's narrative. She imagines shared experiences, subtle touches, conversations, even disagreements, all in her mind before they happen. These mental rehearsals are intense and detailed, and they create emotional tension she can't fully control. The more she runs these scenarios, the stronger her subconscious attachment becomes. The final truth is this: when a woman's thoughts revolve around you constantly, she is already invested in ways most men never see coming. It's not about fleeting attraction. It's about psychological presence, emotional anchoring, and subconscious evaluation. Understanding this gives you power, the power to read her signs, navigate her attention, and recognize that she is far more connected to you than she may ever admit aloud. Once you see it clearly, you understand that every glance, every pause, every subtle word or action is a window into her mind. And in that window, you're no longer just noticed. You're unforgettable.